This week on the EWA Podcast, we're treated to an EWA history lesson courtesy of one of its longest reigning members, and we also find out who the hell is Jimmy Jacobs.
Welcome, everyone! See, that was my Vince McMahon welcome. I wanted to do that for an intro, but I decided not to. But then I did it anyways. Anyways, welcome, everyone, to the EWA Podcast. It's me, your gracious host, Craig. And with me this week, after the highest-rated show in EWA Podcast history last week with Dylan, is a man with even longer history here in the EWA. Everyone say hello to John. John, welcome to the EWA Podcast, my friend.
Hello, good to be here.
John is using a Rock Band microphone, and for those of you not familiar with Rock Band, it's basically a Guitar Hero, and it comes with a microphone for singing. Now, are you using the PlayStation version or the Xbox version, John?
Oh, the Xbox version, of course, yeah.
Well, of course. What kind of bastard uses a PS3? Am I right?
Yeah.
Hey, you sound really good, so I'm impressed. Obviously, you're scoring 5 stars every time that you play Rock Band and sing because you sound that good.
Well, I've been rocking the mic for a long time, so.
Oh, have you?
Oh,
What's your favorite song to sing, John?
Probably My Name is Jonas by Weezer.
Can you give us a little bit of that?
No.
What if I lead you in? My
name is Jonas.
No, that's as far as you're going to go?
Yep, pretty much.
All right, well, 5 stars. I'm going to go ahead and give it to you.
Yes.
All right, John, you have a long-running history. Let's not give away any of the details, but let's tell the listeners about your history here in the EWA.
Yeah. Well, I came into the EWA. Well, it's actually Ring of Honor that I was introduced to the EWA universe back in 2006. That was Monty's Fed, for those who remember Monty, which is probably all of about 5 people.
Yeah.
So I was there for a while, and then when that Fed went under, came across to the EWA, and the rest has been history, really.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of stuff while you're here, not just been an active member. You did some general managing as well, didn't you?
Yep, for about just over 2 years, pretty much. I was posting the shows and whatnot, and it was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, but, it was worth it, I thought. I mean, I had a lot of tough times, sort of, finding the time to actually write the shows, because I was pretty much putting together all the matches and, trying to edit segments so it all sort of fit together and whatnot, and it was like a full-time job pretty much, but, a lot of fun.
I think, we see stuff like this week, and I'm not trying to talk poorly about it or bring it down. The results go up on a Tuesday, and you're like, everybody in their mind is thinking, come on, I wish they go up on Sunday. But it is difficult to get these shows together, because it's more than just putting together the segments and the matches and stuff. Like, you got to make sure the show flows. You got to make sure that the posts have the right amount of words in them, so it's not like breaking up into
Absolutely.
the other posts. Like, there's a lot of work that goes into this, and I totally respect Newt for doing it, and I know it's not easy, and I think everyone around here wishes that they went up earlier, but they totally understand how and why sometimes they go up as late as they do.
Well, absolutely, and like not just putting the shows together, but you got to remember he's got to read all of the role plays for the entire week as well before deciding on the results. So that takes a long time. Trust me. I mean, and trying to decide a winner from reading them as well. It's just. Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah, and there's probably no special trick that goes into it. Like, it's just straight up sit down and read it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, when I was doing it, I would, sort of read role plays during the week to get a good idea of, how people were doing and faring up against one another. But before you start writing the matches and deciding who wins, you've got to just sit down and read them all again just to decide,
Well, since I don't think Newt will ever come on to the podcast, I'm going to ask you some of the questions that I would probably ask him if he came on. When you were the GM here at EWA, were you more into, like, the story-driven role plays, or were you more into just, like, the straight shit-talking role plays? You know what I mean?
Well, to be honest, I've always been, like, a bigger fan of like the promo style role plays. Like, you see Eddie Kingston at the moment. He's just, every single role play is just, proper promos and that sort of thing. That's wrestling really, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
That's what you grew up on, like the Ultimate Warrior in front of like a green screen just rambling shit for, a couple of minutes hyping a match. So I mean, that's what I like, and that's what, I tend to do more often than not in my role plays. But at the same time, you've got to have that storyline-driven stuff as well.
Right. I find that when I'm writing the Cody stuff, it's hard to just continuously do the promo stuff without intermittently adding your story in as well.
Yeah. And I think it's like an important part of just building your character as well, really, isn't it? Just getting it out there and sort of, letting people know what motivates your character, seeing how he interacts with other characters as well. I mean, it's pretty important, and it's the sort of stuff that you can't always squeeze into, like, results or whatever as well.
Right. And now it sounds like, with you referencing back to the Ultimate Warrior, that you've been watching the WWE for quite a while. Would that be a fair assessment?
Oh, yes. I think the first show I can distinctly remember watching was WrestleMania 6, I think, was the...
Yeah, that was mine, too. Yeah, that was my WrestleMania 2, man. Like, I had the tape. I had it memorized from start to finish. Like, I could tell you every match on that card, start to finish, and what happens in it, and how long the matches are. I think my favorite part of that is if we could find a way to bring this back for like an EWA pay-per-view, and you guys may have done it, but when they rode out to the ring in those little miniature rings, those are so badass, man.
Yeah. I'm surprised that hasn't been done at like a Super Bowl or something yet, but...
Oh, yeah. Well,
Super
Bowl, it doesn't make much sense, because when a guy gets pinned, the next guy has to run out and stuff.
Yeah.
But maybe, like, what if, like, it's Civil War? Like, when the next guy comes out, he has to ride out in one of those miniature wrestling rings.
Yeah. Well,
you all right with that?
Absolutely. Let's get it done next year, man.
All right, I'll put it in. And who were some of your favorite wrestlers growing up, John?
I always tended to go, more towards the heels. So Shawn Michaels, especially, when he put Marty Jannetty through the barbershop window. I thought that was awesome. The $1 Million Man, the best, in my opinion, along with Mr. Perfect as well. I was never much for, the big-time faces like Hulk Hogan or Ultimate Warrior, really.
Right. And what about today? Do you watch the WWE product today?
Yeah, but sort of more out of habit now than, actually enjoying what's going on.
Right. Do you have guys that you enjoy watching today?
Yeah. I mean, CM Punk is probably the most interesting character on the show. Obviously, he's not actually on the show at the moment, but yeah, you know, I'm dying to see Christian come back because he's always been one of my favorites. Like, I just think he's got it all, really. He can talk, he can wrestle. He's over with the crowd as well. So looking forward to seeing him come back. But
all right, so if you watched this week's Raw, you saw, and if you read stuff on the internet, you know that John Cena suffered an Achilles injury, which, as far as I can tell, and I know you're European, so it may not translate well, but as far as I can tell, it's the same injury Kobe Bryant suffered and took him out of the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
And could not play. And yet there was John Cena in the ring Monday night performing in front of a live crowd and a live TV audience with the same injury Kobe Bryant had. Now, it seems to me that the WWE is putting a lot on the line, putting him out there like that.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, I'm not sure if it really is an Achilles heel injury. I think, from what I've heard, it was more of a bruised heel, and they've sort of exaggerated it a bit to, you know, increase the danger element, I guess, like, you know, with John Cena stepping in the ring, could he be injured, could he not compete against Ryback sort of thing. But I thought they did a good job of that, actually, on Raw, like the way they laid the six-man tag match out with, you know, Cena coming in, getting hurt, and then tagging out, and then, like, Daniel Bryan, like, refusing to tag him back into the match again just because he knows that Cena's hurt, sort of thing.
You know, something else that jumped out at me Monday night, we had matches between Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes, Jack Swagger and Zack Ryder, Dolph Ziggler and Kofi Kingston, and Alberto Del Rio and Antonio Cesaro. And it seemed like Orton, Ziggler, Del Rio, and Swagger were matched up specifically against guys that are internet wrestling community darlings. The internet wrestling community seems to be in love with Zack Ryder and Cody Rhodes and Antonio Cesaro and, to an extent, Kofi Kingston. And these guys were given a chance to shine. They weren't just 2-minute matches, and they were given a chance to actually have some offense against their opponents. And a couple of them even had some microphone time. Do you think that anything will come of that, or that was just WWE's way of bringing the IWC in for just like, hey, look, we're going to try and push these guys just to like give them a smack in the face next week when they're jobbing to Yoshitatsu and etc.?
Well, I think, yes, I mean, you look at those matches and all of those internet darlings that you list off, none of them actually won their matches, did they? I think that's the sort of problem at the moment. I mean, especially when you look at like Antonio Cesaro, who's a phenomenal wrestler, but you know, he's just I swear this is like the second or third time he's gone up against Alberto Del Rio in the past couple of months, where he's just basically, you know, come out losing and doing himself no favors, really. It was worse when he was actually United States champion and, you know, jobbing to Del Rio.
He was still losing then. Like, Cesaro's losing streak is uncanny right now. I think it's into the double digits.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the fact that he's jobbing to Del Rio. It's the fact that they shouldn't even be wrestling when he's the United States champion and Del Rio is the world heavyweight champion at the time, you know, in the first place.
I guess it's tough to say where it's going to go. Let's wait until next week and see what they wind up doing with these people again. Yeah. If Rhodes, Kingston, Ryder, and Cesaro are just fluff pieces again and not even on Raw, then we'll know that it was just a one-time thing. But hopefully it leads to establishing some sort of a new role for any of them, or all of them, hopefully.
Well, yeah, I hope so. Because there's a lot of talent there, but, you know, just needs to be given the opportunity to shine, really. And
given the opportunity to shine is exactly what the Shield has been given, especially here as of late. competing in singles matches. Dean Ambrose has shown his worth pretty much. He's taking on Kane this week on SmackDown, and what I read was a pretty decent match. And last week, getting to go up against The Undertaker. I mean, there's no other way of saying you've arrived than getting to be one of Undertaker's 2 or 3 or maybe 4 matches of the year. It looks to me like the Shield is going to wind up taking the tag titles from Team Hell No. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's pretty much a given at this point. But I think they're a good team to take the tag titles because the whole Daniel Bryan Kane thing, Team Hell No, I've enjoyed the run, but it's sort of reached that point where they need to do something to either mix it up or just go their separate ways. So
it's crazy to think that they won the titles back in September at Night of Champions.
I know, they've been champions for so long now. But I mean, when you think about it, they haven't really gone up against that many teams, really. It's mostly been like the Rhodes Scholars a couple of times. And
they've beaten the Primetime Players 8 times in the last 3 months, I've read.
Really? Oh, yeah, there you go then.
And the Team Hell No was just a team brought together to fill a need in the tag team division. And, they've kind of run their course, and now that other teams are being established, maybe it's time for them to break apart and go their own separate ways. And speaking of that, there was a hole in the EWA's tag team universe, and filling it was the team of Steve Corino and The Rock, collectively now known as the Coalition. Now, John, let's talk about how this came to be, because, as we both know, Bick was gone for a while as The Rock.
Yeah. Funnily enough, like his last match last year was teaming with Steve Corino then as well. It was the Coalition before they were the Coalition against Porton Burchill and Colby Corino. But yeah, when Bick told me that he was planning on coming back, suggested the idea of teaming up together, I jumped at the chance because Bick is such a talented writer, such good ideas as well. And yeah, I'm really, really happy with the way things have gone. I think it's a nice change of pace, really, because, Steve Corino has been through a lot of serious shit over the past few years. So it's a nice change of pace to do something a bit more lighthearted, a bit more fun.
With the tag division being the way it was, where it was just the Vegas connection at the top, and there wasn't really a whole lot of major league contenders to go up for them. It was basically them, the Lord's Disciples, and that was it.
Yeah,
when you guys made the Coalition. And now here we are heading into May. Have you guys, why didn't, I guess what I'm trying to say is, you guys have slow burned this. Why haven't you just kind of like went for the tag titles, right off the bat? Like, how did you guys go about, well, let's not go for the tag titles right now. Like, let's just kind of, do something else. I mean.
Well, I think at first we sort of just wanted to, just get the story moving, show the descent between Rock and Corino and just, play that up a bit first. And then when we sort of were ready to go for the tag team titles, the Vegas Connection had this thing going on with Steve Blackman and Edge. So that sort of, made us look elsewhere to keep building up to the right sort of moment to go for the tag titles. But it's coming, putting Fuzz and Steve on notice. We're coming.
No doubt. You guys have been steamrolling through the competition, and that continued at Undisputed with your guys' win over the All Night Express. Let's talk about the idea of bringing Dolph Ziggler into the fold.
Oh, that was all Bick. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really like Dolph Ziggler, the previous Dolph Ziggler, the one who actually did go to the store. Because as Dylan mentioned last week, I've, experienced people stealing some of my role plays before, and it's not a pleasant experience. So, yeah, I sort of took exception to that and was looking to eventually go up against him and sort of, humiliate him, for lack of a better term.
embarrass him. But of course, Dolph never returned from the store, and unfortunately, he is now wind up as part of a pseudo member of the Coalition. And then the unthinkable happened. Someone has applied as Dolph Ziggler, and Newt has encouraged them to just kind of be a part of your guys' storyline. What do you think about that?
Well, to be honest, we've sort of, cut the cord with Dolph Ziggler. After,
Let him go on his own.
Yeah. I mean,
that's just good parenting.
The potential's still there. I mean, we can still, cross paths at some point, I guess. But I think me and Big both thought that, sometimes when new guys come in, it's just a bit of a risk working with them when you know nothing about them. They haven't even role-played yet. And so having some random guy just sort of inserted into the middle of our storyline, it wasn't too appealing, to be honest. But
I understand. Now let's go back to your earlier days in the EWA. You were Jimmy Jacobs.
Indeed.
And for those of us who don't know, I'm just going to go ahead and ask, who the hell is Jimmy Jacobs?
Jimmy Jacobs is, the funny thing is he started off as sort of a love-struck, skinny runt of a guy who followed around his manager, Lacey, and basically, would do anything for her. And then, sort of over time, he just grew by design into this almost megalomaniac-style character, like a cult leader type thing. But, to get there, he had to team with Hulk Hogan as the Mega Friends, which was pretty awesome.
I'm sorry, what was the name of that team?
The Mega Friends. Oh, yes, look it up. It's one of the most fun times I've had in the EWA was just putting Jimmy Jacobs and Hulk Hogan together, two guys who...
Were you handling Hulk Hogan at the time?
Well, to begin with, it was a guy called Shiloh who was handling Hulk Hogan, but as time went by, he sort of dropped out of the Fed, so I took over to help finish the storyline, and which led to Jimmy Jacobs turning heel, and I think what did he do? I can't remember. I think he basically just bloodied Hulk Hogan and left him for dead, and formed the Age of the Fall, which sort of ran rampant for a little while.
That's a big step up. The Age of the Fall. That's a big step up from the Mega Friends.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's out of the frying pan and into the fire. It sounds like.
Yeah.
And what was you had a lot of fond memories. It looks like with Jimmy Jacobs, a very successful character, especially in the early incarnations of the EWA. What were some of your best memories or feuds or rivalries that you had with Jacobs?
Well, I think the Hulk Hogan one definitely stands out, but also working with Ant as Jeff Hardy as well. Ant, who's now John Cena. We had this whole feud set up where Jeff Hardy, first of all, Lacey was sort of a bit disgusted with Jimmy Jacobs' actions with forming the Age of the Fall. So basically, Jeff Hardy sort of became the shoulder for her to cry on. And she sort of went over to his side of thinking, which only pissed off Jimmy Jacobs that much more.
Right.
But to be honest, that and the William Regal feud as well, which is sort of the swan song of Jimmy Jacobs, was the two best things I did with him.
Now, were you handling Jacobs and Carino whenever you took over the GM the first time around?
No, at that point, I think I'd retired Carino with the intention of keeping him retired about nearly a year before. I pretty much sacrificed Carino to put over the Age of the Fall, and I had them break his neck. Like I say, no intention to bring Carino back. But there was a period before that where I was Jacobs and Carino together. But, I don't know how I managed to roleplay as two characters at the same time. I can't do it anymore.
And now when you were the GM, when you stepped down, you handed the reins over to Devin, right?
Yeah.
What was going through your mind when you were stepping down and Devin was stepping in?
Well, to be honest, I'd sort of made the made it known that I was going to step down as GM at some point that year. I think it was 2011, and I really wanted to leave the Fed in good hands. But then Devon sort of stepped in and said, I'll take over again. And I wasn't too sure about that, but because he's been in charge of the EWA before, I just sort of went along with it and hoped for the best. And obviously it didn't really work out that way. I think it was actually similar to when Newt stepped down. In between Newt and myself running the Fed, Dev stepped in then as well. But I think, he's just, I don't want to say outgrown the Fed, but, he just doesn't really have time for it or any motivation for running a Fed anymore.
Right, I understand that. And then, what were your thoughts when Newt came back? And apparently, I wasn't there then, but from what I've been told, there was some tension between some members of the rosters about the direction of the EWA versus when you were in charge running things. Would you say that was accurate?
Yeah, but, it wasn't so much from me, which is the funny thing. I thought I was just happy to go along and see where things went, but because I guess it was like a stark contrast between me running the Fed and Newt running the Fed, a lot of people had their feathers ruffled sort of thing, and they would come to me to basically bitch and moan, which, I don't mind being a sounding board, but I think Newt got wind of that, and somehow it got turned around a bit. So, I was enemy number one sort of thing. I had no problem whatsoever with Newt running the Fed.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, and this isn't me trying to stir shit up or anything like that, this is just me being curious, what were some of the differences between how you ran the Fed and how Newt runs or ran the Fed?
Well, I think Newt's, he's got like a very singular vision for what he wants to do, he will do. And I was more, I don't know, I don't want to sound like I'm, stirring shit or anything, but I was a bit more...
John, I can edit this out, but it's okay. Just curious.
No, it's cool. I guess I was just more open to suggestion, I think. I was, if people had something they wanted to see happen or changes they wanted to see made, I think it was a bit easier to approach me to, get those changes into the public forum rather than sometimes with Newt, because he's got this singular vision. He doesn't seem as open to it.
I understand. And that basically led us into probably when I joined, early 2012. You won Civil War right as I arrived, and were kind of thrust into this feud with Dan as Paul Burchill that ran a good course of 2012. Talk about that, working with Dan and the Burchill-Carino feud that went down last year.
Well, first of all, it was a really satisfying feud in the fact that we told the story that we wanted to tell, but at the same time, it was, for me personally, really emotionally and mentally draining. Like, some of the stuff we were writing with, Carino's sister basically getting drugged and then photographed naked, and the pictures released to the world, and then Colby turning on Steve and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, it just it really took it out of me, surprisingly. But I think we were sort of a little bit hampered by because that was sort of around the time where Dan didn't quite have the access that he did previously, so he was a bit in and out of the Fed, and that's why it stretched so long.
But do you feel like that kind of made the feud itself seem incomplete because you had to stretch it out further?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, my first thought was that we'd be able to stretch it to Super Brawl and finish it there. But it just didn't happen. But I'm kind of glad it didn't in the end, because it meant I got to be a part of Super Brawl, which was it was disappointing on the one hand that we didn't do as well as we thought we were going to do,
right.
But on the other, it meant we had like another month to actually properly tie things together and just finish the feud properly.
Mm-hmm. And that all culminated at Year of the Dragon, where you guys had your cage match, right? It was a cage match.
I can't even remember now. Yeah,
I think it was a cage match. Yeah, and then that wound up with Birch Hill sealing the deal and putting the final nail in that coffin. And now here we are with Steve Corino in the final year of his EWA career.
Yeah.
Talk about that. Talk about the idea of coming up and saying, hey, this is going to be Steve's final year. Let's see what kind of crazy shit we can do. Or do you have things in mind that you want to do this year with Steve Corino?
Well, I've got a few ideas, but I think the problem I've run into with Corino is I've sort of hit the wall in terms of the amount of things I've got left to do with him. I've pretty much had all the kinds of feuds that you can have with Corino. I brought his family into it, God knows how many times, but I just feel like it would do me good as a writer as well to just put him to bed and maybe find a new character to sort of, pick up the pieces and just have a bit of fun. Maybe not treat it as seriously as I have done with Corino. But in terms of plans for the rest of the year, well, I don't know. There's definitely certain people who, if I can't feud with, I'd definitely like to have matches with. People like yourself, like Teasy, like Bryce as well. Although, obviously, Kurt Angle has just retired, right, which is a bit of a bummer. But,
John, let me ask you a serious question, because I remember reading your role plays during the week of Super Brawl.
Yeah.
And it said, Steve Corino has never won Super Brawl.
Yeah.
Do you personally feel like you're almost kind of owed that victory this year? Like, is this like Steve Corino saying, "Come on, man, like this is my year for Super Brawl"?
Honestly, I think it's just a good story, really. Just to have him so focused on Super Bowl victory that it just spurs him throughout the year. And whether or not he wins it, either way, it's been a pretty good run with Corino. He's won a few world titles here and there, and had some good feuds that hopefully people will remember. So even if he doesn't win Super Bowl, I've got no problem with that. We'll just take it as it comes, really.
Yeah, I think either way, you're going to wind up telling an amazing story.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping for, anyway.
Most definitely. All right, well, it's time for a game. We're gonna kind of do this game different this week. It was going to be wrestler or superhero, but talking with John before we started recording this podcast, we came up with this idea. And what John and I are going to do is I'm going to give him a member of the EWA roster, and he, with his vast and superior knowledge of the comic book universe, is going to give out who or what superhero he thinks this character is most like. So hopefully he doesn't go too obscure, because I don't want to have to go to Wikipedia to look up these guys. Okay, John?
I'll try not to.
All right, let's start out with an easy one. This is the EWA canon, not WWE canon. Am I using the canon term correctly, John?
Yes, definitely.
Or is it Kanan or canon?
No, definitely canon.
All right, this is EWA canon. Let's start out with Grand Slam champion CM Punk. What superhero is he like?
CM Punk, I see him as sort of a Magneto hero, sort of figure. Like, he can play the hero or the villain, but he's got that sort of cult leader vibe about him as well. Straight edge society and all.
Right. I see him as Magneto because he's very polarizing.
Oh.
Yeah, like a magnet.
Yeah, good one, good one.
Yeah, that little snippet right there is going in my my best of EWA podcast that I'm going to have one day. I'll edit this part out, but I'm going to leave it in that line. All right, let's talk about Val Venus.
Val Venus, working class hero.
If you say a certain superhero, I'm going to drive to Europe and punch you in the face.
You're not going to punch me in the face if I say Spider-Man, are you?
No, I'm not. That one's fine.
Oh, thank God. But yeah, Spider-Man, I mean, yes, he's got the whole, he's like a working class hero himself. Yeah, it's a pretty good fit.
You like the Spider-Man fit for Val Venus, huh?
Yeah.
What about your tag team partner, The Rock? What superhero is he most like?
For The Rock, I don't know. He's loud. He's pretty obnoxious, a bit arrogant. I'm thinking maybe along the lines of Thor, possibly.
Yes.
He thinks he's the golden god. Maybe he isn't really, but that's what he thinks.
What about Brock Lesnar, who's been making some pretty good waves in EWA since joining?
Indeed. Brock Lesnar, well, obviously he's a bit of a monster, a bit unstoppable. I'd have to go for the Juggernaut, I guess. Just running through competition.
That's a good call. What about Eddie Kingston?
Eddie Kingston, let's see, he's, I don't even think there is a superhero or supervillain character that represents Eddie Kingston. He is Eddie Kingston. He's absolute badass.
Yeah. What about Al Snow?
Al Snow, there's got to be Deadpool.
Deadpool, that's a good call.
Yeah.
I actually like that pick a lot. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Who was I going to go with next here? How about Kevin Steen?
Kevin Steen, he's another sort of dangerous, psychotic kind of guy. I don't know. Maybe Sabretooth, I'd say. Yeah.
I noticed you're staying with the Marvel Universe. Kevin Steen reminds me very much of, not the Joker per se, but it seems like he is pretty hell-bent on just chaos.
Yeah. I could definitely go for that. But, yeah, I guess I'm saying sticking with Marvel because I'm more of a Marvel guy, to be honest, than DC. But
just a couple more. How about La Parka?
La Parka. I don't know.
El Aso Wipo? Is that a real guy? I guess from Mad TV. I'm not sure.
Yeah. We'll go with
that. How about Vicky Guerrero? Let's do a Vixen.
Oh, Vicky Guerrero. I'm not sure. Maybe. I'll go for Mystique, I think.
Mystique, that's a good pick. I was going to go Aunt May, but okay, I can see Mystique. And finally, that's the last one I'll send you out on, Cody Rhodes.
Cody Rhodes, mustachioed national champion. Although, no, you're not mustachioed anymore.
I don't play the mustache character. And by God, listen, I have had a lot of problems with people making banners and signatures and pictures and all kinds of shit, and he's wearing a fucking mustache. I don't want him in a mustache. I think that whole gimmick is stupid. I think his t-shirt looks stupid, and I hate everything about that damn mustache. So if you're listening to this, don't send me any more pictures or post any more banners of him in a mustache.
Yes, Steve.
Okay, that's basically what I was trying to say, yes. So what superhero villain would you say EWA Cody Rhodes is most like?
Well, because he's got this Hollywood past, maybe Wonder Man, I'd say.
God damn it, John.
Sorry.
Wonder Man?
Yeah. But,
you're thinking of Wonder Bread. Jesus, man, you screwed it all up. Besides Eddie Kingston, is there anyone else that's really jumped out at you here as of late? Do you read a lot of other people's role plays? I notice you generally have feedback for people.
Yeah, I try to. I mean, we're all putting the effort into role play and whatnot. I figure it's the least I can do to try and read as many as possible. So, Kingston definitely sticks out. as the best of the bunch of the newest guys for me because of the whole just promo role plays. He gives good promo. Is pretty much what I'd say. But let's see.
I think the problem is, before you answer that, you had these guys like Adam Cole and Cassius Ohno come in, and even Ed when he was low key and not many people knew, and they're good, but they just, I don't know if they burn out or if they just have too many irons in the fire or what the deal is. Like, it just, these guys get the head of steam, and then once everything starts going, they just kind of, once they establish themselves and they get themselves ready to go for a national title shot or go for the mid-card, then they just kind of pewter out.
I think it's always been a problem, though. I mean, especially in the EWA. I mean, there's just so many people who sign up and they either last, like a week or not even that, or maybe like a month or so. But it's, I guess, because we're so competitive here, like the quality of the role-playing and storylines and everything is just so high. Maybe it can be a bit intimidating to some people when they sign up and, they lose a couple of matches and think, oh, this Fed's not for me, sort of thing. Yeah. But, to those people, I'd say just stick it out and do your best and don't really care, how the results go. I know it's hard to say, but just enjoy the ride, sort of thing. That's what I try and do. Don't really care about wins and losses these days. I just, hope I'm telling a good story and hope people enjoy it.
No doubt. Just looking at the numbers from last year, 194 total superstars used in various matches in the EWA last year. And when you take a look at the roster right now, and it reads about 25 to 40 people deep, I can't give you an exact number. You got to think that's just a lot of people coming in and out quickly. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think because I've got all the records saved so far for this year, and we're already up to about 100 and something, including all the Fury jobbers and whatnot. So even though we're not even halfway through the year, we still had a lot of different wrestlers, competing in the EWA. I guess it just goes to show that it's pretty hard to make a character stick, really.
No doubt. How do you feel about the community Glenn Jacobs character?
Well, funnily enough, one of my sort of post-Carino plans for next year involved Kane. I was sort of thinking of maybe trying to, give Kane a good run in the EWA, like put a story together with him, Undertaker, and Paul Bearer. But after Paul Bearer died, I sort of gave up on that idea. Right. But yeah, I think it's a really, really good idea to have that sort of community character. But the one thing I'm not so keen on is the fact that we're assigned gimmicks for the week. Where I think if it was me, I'd probably prefer if I had that freedom to choose what gimmick I was, using. But yeah, I hope it works.
Indeed, I think the concept of having it be assigned is if you're given a week and you just don't have anything off the top of your head, like here might be something. But he said there would be a lot of your choices in there too.
Yeah.
So I think it's a novel concept. I think it's great. I think it's good, especially if he's used against newer members that are coming in and joining. It wouldn't make sense to have him in matches against Val Venus and William Regal and stuff like that. But when these guys like James Storms and Dolph Ziggler come in, it'd be nice to just pit them in a match with someone that they have to take seriously, but they won't be intimidated by.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what we're going for with this, and I like the idea a lot. I hope it works out because I think it's just really cool. And especially to be doing it together. I cannot say enough about the EWA community, and I'm sure that you've seen members come and go, and I'm not going to, make you say that this is like a great group of guys here, but it's just nice. I feel like I can send a message to anyone in this Fed and get a communicative email back that's not harsh or, someone being a dick about something. Like these are very nice guys. They're easy to talk to, and I've enjoyed my time here immensely.
I couldn't agree more. I think, we've got such a good sort of core roster of people. And then when, guys like yourself and Brett and Fuzz and Cleve all join the fun as well, it's just like, just good to see the family grow sort of thing.
Indeed, like you guys live a whole ocean apart, but I feel, I talk to Bryce pretty regularly. I know he talks to a lot of people, but I know that if I sent him a message, I could probably get a response back within the next couple hours, no matter what time of day it is.
Yeah,
and it's just nice to know that there's that kind of ability to communicate here. It makes it 100 million times easier and more fun.
Absolutely.
Well, John, with that being said, I think we've got enough material here to use. It's been a blast having you on. The rock band mic held out. Best of luck to you with the rest of this year. I'm sure you'll be on with the podcast, but God knows when. But best of luck with the whole Carino thing. I've enjoyed the character immensely.
Thank you.
I was sad that we didn't get a chance to work out something with the Horsemen last year, but at the same time, we were able to tell a decent story with it, and
I'm sure our paths will cross at some point.
I have no doubt that Cody Rhodes and Steve Carino's paths will cross, if not in the immediate future, then very well down the road, and there's a great story to be told there, and I can't wait for it. And John, you're just a really nice guy. Like, I worked with you with the Cody and the Horseman thing, and then Brett and I worked with you with the Deans when we were just getting off our, out of the starting blocks, and I worked with you setting up this podcast and everything, and so it's been you're one of the true pioneers of this EWA Fed, and I've loved being able to talk to you and work with you because you've made it very easy and fun. So I want to say thank you.
It's not a problem, man. My pleasure.
And hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast again sooner than later, and I hope you've had a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I was a little nervous, but yeah.
Everyone is, but then I have a way of getting you drunk enough to come on here. I think it's late there, too, and it's like 11 o'clock your time, isn't it?
Yeah, 11:30, but, I'm up until all hours anyway, so...
11:30? Oh, also, I was very impressed whenever I said, do you have roommates, and you didn't correct me to say flatmates, because that would have made me mad, too.
Roommates, it's, as long as I don't wake them up, everything's cool over here.
I won't talk about how one of your roommates knows that you E-Fed and the other one doesn't.
No, definitely don't bring that up.
Send me the Facebook or email of the roommate that doesn't know, and I'm going to email them this podcast.
I'll think about that.
Okay. John, thanks again for coming on. And if you want to come on and join me, feel free to send me a private message on the forum. I've been trying to book guests a couple weeks in advance. I try not to get more than 2 or 3 weeks. So if I haven't got to you yet, please don't be offended or worry. I have a way of getting back around to you. John can attest. John was actually the very first person I reached out to for this podcast. And he was like, I don't know, man. It doesn't sound like, my kind of thing. And then it took 8 weeks, John, to get you onto this podcast. But I'm very thankful that you were able to. So if you want to come on too, feel free to download Skype and message me, and I'll send you my screen name, and then we can chat on there and work out a time that works out best for us. And then you can be nervous and come on just like John did, and we can do a little podcast and post it on the internet. John, is there anything else you'd like to say in a parting shot? You wanna warn Fuzz and Cleve one more time that you're coming?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, you guys watch your backs. We're after you, man.
So threatening, John. You're too damn nice, man. Too damn nice. Well, for the rest of the EWA Universe, this is Craig, and thank you for listening. We'll check you next week.